In 2014, the Dallas Cowboys held the number 16 overall pick in the NFL draft after a third consecutive 8-8 season. Nearly everyone expected them to use that pick on Texas A&M superstar quarterback Johnny Manziel. But that didn't happen, and now we know exactly why. Stephen Jones, the son of the Cowboys owner Jerry Jones and the team's CEO and director of player personnel, recently sat down with Sports Business Journal publisher and executive editor Abe Macker as part of the outlet's On Stage series to discuss what went down on draft night in 2014. Jerry Jones was absolutely furious that the Cowboys didn't draft Johnny Manziel. Cowboys quarterback Tony Romo was still considered one of the league's best signal callers at the time. But Romo recently turned 34 years old. And Manziel was the type of flashy superstar that Jerry Jones was known to covet. Add in the fact that Manziel was a Texas native who played his college ball in-state, and it felt like an obvious fit. But as Stephen Jones tells it, he and others stepped in to prevent his father from making a potentially disastrous selection. Well, sure enough, Johnny Manziel falls to us, Stephen Jones says when discussing the story, 21-minute mark of the above video. And I go, Dad, this is a hard thing because everybody knows you want Johnny. But I go, as you heard some of the things, I don't think he's the right guy for us. Stephen Jones then noted that everyone in the Cowboys war room is sitting with their heads down, not wanting to be the one to tell Jerry Jones that they plan to select a different player. Ultimately, Dallas passed on Manziel. The Cowboys used the number 16 pick to select Zach Martin, and Jerry Jones laid into his son over the decision. And so, roll the clock forward. We end up picking Zach Martin. And boy, it is tense. Usually after every pick, we're all clapping, high-fiving, saying, boy, isn't that a great pick? Well, after we pick Zach Martin, an offensive guard from Notre Dame, Jerry looks over at me, slaps me on the leg, and he goes, Son, I didn't get to buy the Dallas Cowboys. We're not sitting here 'cause you do down the middle of the road things. He goes, what you just did is down the middle. You'll never be great. Fast forward just over a decade, and Martin just finished a likely Hall of Fame career. He made 9 Pro Bowl appearances and 7 All-Pro first teams. Meanwhile, the Cleveland Browns selected Manziel with the number 22 overall pick. He went on to crash out of the league after just 2 seasons while dealing with drug and alcohol addictions. Manziel later said that his off-field issues would have been even worse had he gone to Dallas. So it's safe to say things worked out for all involved parties, to varying degrees. But Stephen Jones didn't say whether his dad ever apologized for his brutal critique of the pick. A new era of Dallas Cowboys football will soon begin taking shape on the training camp fields of Oxnard, California, as Brian Schottenheimer and his players get ready for what promises to be an exciting 2025 season. Which means now is the time for you to start preparing for the upcoming campaign as well with our official 2025 Dallas Cowboys Star Magazine training camp preview. In addition to scouting reports for every player on the roster, including what they've done in the past and the expectations for this year, there are overall breakdowns of each position, the best battles to watch, top newcomers and rookies on the squad, and more. In addition, Tommy Yarish has an in-depth look at Schottenheimer finally getting his chance to be an NFL head coach, while Patrick Walker enters his science lab to dig into just how potent the Cowboys' offense could be. Mickey Spagnola also offers up a season preview, and don't forget this is the only place you can get our always popular pull-out poster featuring the 2025 schedule. The Dallas Cowboys and their fans can harbor some justifiable unhappiness with their third-string tight end. But why does everyone think the solution is to trade for somebody else's third-string tight end? The position itself is a hot topic right now in the NFL, from tight end university featuring Taylor Swift to the recent pair of notable and connected trades. The Miami Dolphins salary dumped Pro Bowl tight end Jonas Smith on the Pittsburgh Steelers and then replaced him by luring out of retirement Darren Waller in a bizarre trade with the New York Giants. But what does that have to do with Dallas? It seems folks want the Cowboys to get in on the act with 2 ideas popping up on the media radar. Assorted outlets have created the idea that Dallas should call the Steelers again, follow up on the George Pickens acquisition, and offer them something in trade for the 6'7", 264-pound third-string tight end Darnell Washington. Along with that, many Cowboys critics are ready to bust Luke Schoonmaker. Washington is just 23 and is a compelling figure to be sure, a gigantic body who in 2 NFL seasons has managed to catch 26 passes and 1 TD. So, what's the lore here? How is that promising or successful when in Dallas? Schoonmaker, who was taken in the second round of the 2023 NFL Draft, 1 round ahead of Washington, has substantially more production with 35 catches and 3 TDs. How is Washington a prospect, while Schoonmaker is a bust? Think about this as well. Schoon, at 6'5" and 250, is, let's say, thought of as a draft failure. If so, why is anybody knocking on Dallas's door with a trade offer worth taking? Schoon, to our eyes during minicamp, was in the process of getting beaten out by 2024 UDFA Brevin Spanford, and we wonder why anyone would place a bet that Washington's third stringer would be better than he is. Oh, and guess what? If you view Washington as physically imposing at 6'7" and 264, what must you think of Spanford, who is 6'7" and 270? What's getting lost here is that we, fans and media, are talking about the shuffling of backups. After being named to the Pro Bowl in 2023, this past season was a disappointing one for Cowboys tight end Jake Ferguson, no doubt. But he's the starter, and he seems poised for a bounce back in 2025. And given that Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott is in that same category, Ferguson is the tight end story to cover here, not fantasy scenarios in which third-string tight ends somehow matter on the same level. Football season is getting closer and closer. The Cowboys are set to depart for training camp in less a month. That's when we'll get the first up-close look at Brian Schottenheimer's first season with this revised roster and coaching staff. When we get to Oxnard, that's when we'll start to get some real answers about this 2025 Cowboys team. But what are the questions? We've compiled our annual list of pressing questions that need answers heading into the regular season. The staff writers, consisting of Patrick Walker, Tommy Yarish, Nick Eatman, Mickey Spagnola, Kyle Humans, and Kurt Daniels, weigh in on some of the pressing issues. Today's question centers on a pair of players who are battling injuries and what to expect from Trayvon Diggs and Marvin Overshown this year. Expectations for Diggs and Overshown this season? Mickey, these are more the hopes than expectations for 2 players coming off complex knee surgeries. The hope for Trayvon Diggs, who has chosen to do his rehabilitation apart from the Cowboys trainers, is being ready to start the season on time. There is no guarantee of that. Now, the Cowboys training staff has been monitoring his rehab progress from afar and did work with him during the 3-day minicamp, but chances are Diggs will begin training camp on PUP just so they can continue working with him to better monitor his progress firsthand. The Cowboys must cover themselves for any potential early season absence. As for Marvin Overshown, who is rehabbing with the team training staff, and while there is optimism over his progress, the realistic hope is that the third-year linebacker can resume playing around Thanksgiving, though no timeline is set. Any contribution from Overshown will be considered a bonus. Patrick, it's not the same for both, I'll tell you that much. That's because of the timing and type of injury, allowing for an earlier potential timeline for return for Diggs. There's at least a slight possibility Diggs could be ready at the start of training camp, but more realistically, before camp breaks in mid-August to return to Dallas, and that could keep him from starting the season on the PUP, physically unable to perform, list, and missing any games from the outset. Overshown is moving around well nowadays, but has more hurdles to overcome than does Diggs, so it seems a foregone conclusion the superstar in the making will miss games to start the 2025 campaign, though he fully expects to be on the field several games before the regular season concludes. As for their level of play, when they eventually return, that's impossible to calculate, to be honest. One on hand, you should allow some grace for any player returning from a season-ending knee injury, but on the other hand, we've now seen Overshown fly out of the gate swiftly when he returned in 2024 from a torn ACL in his other knee. Diggs is more difficult to predict because it'll depend on how confident he feels with his knee this time around, but given the fact the Cowboys are currently in dire straits as far as figuring out the CB position, there is a ton of pressure on the record-setting All-Pro to get back to that version of himself. And pronto. Nick, I don't expect either of them to play Week 1. But I have a feeling both will play at some point this season. I know that's pretty vague and a wide range of an answer, but that's how much uncertainty there is for both players. For Overshone, I really can't count him out ever. I think he'd tell you right now he will be ready for the season and maybe even training camp. But the training staff has to be smart about it, and they will. That's one of the best groups in all of sports, and they know how to get players back in time, not only as quickly as possible, but also so they will stay on the field and not continue to go back and forth on the injured list. My gut says Overshone starts the year on PUP and will be ready by October. For Diggs, it's a little different because the nature of his injury is also rather unique. He's also not been with the training staff on a regular basis, but that doesn't mean he's not rehabbing. It's just been harder to keep tabs on him. But something tells me he will also go on PUP and probably be ready by the middle of the season as well. Either way, the Cowboys have to figure out other ways to back them up at those positions. Kurt, unfortunately, I don't think we should expect too much from either player in 2025. While both are unbelievably talented and have shown they can be true game changers, each is also coming off a second surgery on the same knee in as many years. We've seen how players in the past have needed time to ramp up after one such injury, oftentimes needing at least a season to return to form. But even though Diggs and Overshone were able to come back strong in 2024 following their 2023 surgeries, can they do so again a second consecutive time? That seems a lot to ask. I hope I'm wrong, but if the Cowboys are going into this 2025 campaign counting on Diggs or Overshone to be impact players, the defense could be in trouble. Instead, the better game plan may be that any contributions the two make in the upcoming season are seen as just a bonus.